This is Gabriela on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. We have a real treat for you just around the corner, and that is Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. Jeff is the owner of Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and he will be coming to you weekly to teach you more about empowered living. Now, let's join Jeff already in the studio.
Hello and welcome. This is Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and you are listening to Empowered Living. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me here on this broadcast. And the title of our topic today is Iron Sharpening Iron. Now, don't worry, it doesn't really have that much to do with iron. We're just using that as a point of departure to talk about the impact that we can have on each other. The reason that I chose this particular title is because of something King Solomon said many years ago in Proverbs 27:17 in the New International Version. It's recorded, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Now, you may think, well, that doesn't sound so good. We're making each other sharp and pointy, and maybe we'll cut each other. That's not really the way that this is meant to be taken. It's not sharpening for that kind of purpose. It's sharpening for a useful purpose. And think about this. What it kind of refers to is like if you see a chef with the two knives sharpening them against each other, or if there's a grinding wheel, an iron grinding wheel, somebody sharpening an axe or a knife on that, so that they can be equipped to do some useful thing with it. And if you think about it, when we use tools, if we have sharp tools, what does it do? It does a number of things. First of all, we don't waste time. If you've ever tried to chop a tree with a dull axe, that's a frustrating endeavor. It's going to take a lot more time than it needs to take. And you're going to use, number two, we're going to use a lot more energy. We're going to use a lot more effort trying to get that job done. We're not going to get the job done as precisely and effectively with dull tools, or if we're dull people. Maybe you've worked with some dull people in the past, and you just can't get things done effectively and as efficiently as they should be getting done if you've got some dull people on your team that you're trying to work with. And also, there's going to be a whole lot more frustration and soreness if you're actually physically working with dull tools. If you're out trying to chop down a tree with a dull axe, you're going to be a lot more sore the next day as a result, and a lot more frustrated in that endeavor. My wife and I, we just bought some good cutting knives. We like to cook and to cut, and the knives we had, they just weren't cutting it. And so we bought some good knives, and it's amazing the difference it makes. Just like cutting through chicken or beef, just like we're cutting through butter. And it's just amazing. Before, we used to have to saw and chop, and then it was frustrating, and it took a long time, and it wasn't very effective or efficient. But what we're really talking about today isn't so much about tools. We're talking about ourselves. We're talking about people. We're talking about the kind of relationships that we can have that make us our sharpest, our best, our most fit for use and for getting the job done and being effective. And there's a few benefits that I'd like to give you of sharpening each other. Number one is that we know that we have a true friend. Not just one that won't tell us what we need to hear and then talks about us in the parking lot to other people, but if somebody tells you what you need to hear and is giving you the truth, the kind truth, to help you become your best, your most effective, reach your potential, become your sharpest at getting jobs done, you've got a true friend. You don't have to doubt that friendship. It's the ones who just always tell you what they think you want to hear that you have to wonder what they're saying when they're somewhere else. Number two, a true friend, one that helps sharpen us, helps remove our blind spots. Now, a blind spot is an area, as you know it from driving. There's that little area next to the car that just hasn't quite gotten into your side view mirror and that you just can't quite see in the rear view mirror. There's that blind spot. That's why I learned a long time ago just to look over to actually turn and look, not just to trust the mirrors, to make sure there's not somebody right beside me that I'm getting ready to run into when I'm changing lanes. We all have blind spots in our lives. I heard someone speaking recently, and they said, if you don't think you have a blind spot, that's your blind spot, your primary one, because we all have blind spots where we're not seeing ourselves clearly and our need for growth in certain areas. Now, sometimes a blind spot can come about because we have grown in an area. Say there was an area that I was very poor in and didn't behave very well in, and I spent a lot of time and I grew a lot. Say maybe starting out I was maybe a 2 or 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, and I grew and I spent time and I developed that area and paid attention to it, and I got up to maybe a 7. And I think, wow, look how well I've done. Sure have grown a lot. But what I'm not seeing is the area left to grow because I'm so focused on the area I already have grown. And so that remaining area where I could still develop and become better becomes a blind spot that I can't see. And another person can help me see that. I remember hearing a man say one time that he had done something and it went very, very well. And he was all proud of himself for doing this. And an older mentor friend of his came to him and he said, "Hey, you did real good. Now get over it." In other words, stop looking at how good you did and get back out there and get to it and see what else you can do good and see how you can continue to develop. So that was a good friend. He helped him overcome that blind spot. Number 3, when we're sharpening each other, we are walking together on a path toward growing our strengths and managing our weaknesses, lest we hinder ourselves and others. The last thing I want is, I want to do a lot of good things and bring a lot of good things to people and build people. And that's what I hope is happening as you're listening today, that you're getting some good thoughts and ideas and that they're helping you grow and they're building you up and they're encouraging you. But I don't at the same time want to have aspects of my life that if you knew about, you wouldn't listen to me anymore. So we need others to help us because all of us, Mark Twain said, all of us are like the moon. We have a dark side we don't want anybody to see. And so the more we can strengthen and enhance those things and overcome the weaknesses that we all have weaknesses. And the wiser we get, I think, the more we know not to trust ourselves, that we need the help of God and other people to stay on track and to keep becoming our best, because there's always those times in our thinking and in our hearts that nobody else knows about where we get down, where we're tempted to be led astray, and walking together and sharpening each other can help us stay on track. Remember the truth. Remember the goals. Keep the vision before us and keep moving towards it and developing ourselves and not getting led astray and getting off track. Number 4, benefits of sharpening each other. The 4th benefit is that others see possibilities for me that are beyond my current beliefs and ability to see. They can see potential in me that I can't see in myself, and others can see that in you. One of the things I love to do is see somebody who's just exhibits tons of potential and just to let them know what I see and what I believe in them and how much I believe in them. And one of the dear friends that I have that's done this for me is the producer of this very show. His name's Chuck Christie. And I remember a few years ago when he had this vision of me speaking before people and building others up. And I just didn't see it. I didn't believe it. I didn't see that for myself. That wasn't the way I viewed myself, but he saw that. And here we are a few years later. He ended up getting hold of this radio station and allowing me to do this show and producing it for me. And here we are working together in that area of vision that he had that I didn't have for myself. But he saw it, and as he developed, he came to have resources that could create opportunities for me. And here we are doing this. Another one is a friend of mine, Kay Crenshaw. She owns a company that I used to work for. And when she hired me, I was kind of surprised. I honestly didn't think I had the skills or the qualifications for it. I was excited about it, but I didn't really think much that she would hire me. Didn't really believe in myself. But she hired me and gave me opportunities. And then years later, I wrote her to thank her for seeing in me what I didn't see in myself. And she wrote back and she said, well, all I did was see what was obvious. And I said, well, it may have been obvious to you, but it wasn't obvious to me. And that's been the case with me for much of my life. I've came from a fairly negative self-image when I was younger, and it's taken a lot of other people seeing in me what I couldn't see in myself and then creating opportunities and encouraging me and providing me with resources. And we can do that for each other. Most of us can use somebody to come along and see in us, see farther down the road, see farther ahead, see greater opportunity and potential than what we see for ourselves, and to encourage that and strengthen that. And who knows, maybe you'll even be able to provide an opportunity for somebody that they wouldn't have on their own at some point in time, or maybe they can do that for you as well. And number 5, when we're sharpening each other and we start working together, they provide strengths in areas where I lack giftedness and natural strengths. And that enables greater productivity through collaboration. Now, if there's an area that, not just that I have a bad attitude and I need to work in that and get a better attitude, but if there's an area that I'm really not good in, not gifted in naturally, like bookkeeping, I'm not great with bookkeeping. Okay. Now I can work and work and work, and I'm only going to get but so good. So it's far better if I partner with somebody who's good at that already, who's already strong in that area. So other people bring strengths to a team that I lack, but that are needed for that team to ever reach its fullest potential. So finding those other people and encouraging them to keep developing in their strong areas, and them to keep encouraging me to develop in my areas of strength, as we do that and encourage each other and bring those different things to the team, we can accomplish far more than we ever could on our own. Now, a little while back, I was reading in a magazine an article about horses, and it was talking about draft horses. And as you may know, we have those big, beautiful Budweiser Clydesdale draft horses up in Williamsburg nearby, and you've seen them on the commercials, and they're just majestic, and they're so strong, and they're elegant, and they're beautiful. But these draft horses, if you get 2 draft horses, and each of which can pull 8,000 pounds, and you put them together, 18,000 pounds, they can pull as much as 24,000 pounds. It's an exponential function when they work. If a very skilled trainer comes along who enables these horses to work together in the best way possible, to stop pulling in its own direction or doing its own thing, but to genuinely embrace this idea of team pulling, those horses can then be trained to pull up to 32,000 pounds when they're working together in perfect unity. And that's the way it is with us when we work with other people. Now, this has taken me a long time to learn. I'm an only child. I ended up being very distrustful of so many people early on, and just tried to do everything on my own, and had a little bit of success in some areas, but nothing like what the exponential growth that's happening now is I'm partnering with other people and letting other people in. And that's what I want to talk about. Now, I want to talk about, all of these sound great, but there are some hindrances to working with other people in this sharpening type of relationship. And the first thing that I think that really hinders us is pride. Because pride, and I'm speaking from personal experience here, pride thinks that it can do it on its own, that it's got it all together, that it doesn't need anybody else. Pride is closed. Pride is an internally closed stance to the benefit and the advice and the help that can be had from other people. Pride closes itself, whereas humility opens a space in our minds and in our hearts to receive what we lack. We're open. We want it. We know we don't have it all, but we want to become as much as we can be. So we're open to other people who have been there, who are farther down the road, who have sound counsel and wisdom and good advice and other resources. And we actively seek those things. In fact, now I'm at the stage I'm in, I can't hardly get enough. I'm just so eager to read and to study and to learn and to attend conferences and to listen to people who are farther down the road and have more wisdom. I just can't wait. Whereas all these years I was closed to it. I wish I had started this practice many, many years ago. The second hindrance and reason that I think that we're not open to sharpening relationships is fear. Fear that others will react negatively to us if we are open, or if we speak openly. Both of those carry with them some significant fears sometimes. The first of all, we're fear of being open and dropping the guard and letting ourselves be seen, be vulnerable. Maybe you've heard Brené Brown talk about vulnerability on her TED Talks. If you haven't, I highly recommend you look those up. They are powerful.